Welcome into this edition of Inside Broncbuster Athletics. I'm Mike Pilosof, pleased to be joined by the head strength and conditioning coach, that is Alex Huddleson, who just joined us, just a few weeks ago. So
just a few weeks ago.
Appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, no problem.
You have kind of an interesting background because you didn't start out as a strength coach, and maybe people don't actually start out as strength coaches. I don't know if that's the career day tent, but you were a baseball player. So take us through how you got into this profession to begin with.
So in high school, we were very fortunate to have a strength coach come in and work with us. As far as I know, we're the only one in Tennessee at a single A level to have a strength coach, and got into weightlifting that way. And from there really blossomed once I kind of got into college and trained with some better people. And then my sophomore year of college, I transferred from Cleveland State to a four-year school to Hiwassee College in Tennessee. And my baseball coach looked at me and goes, "You like to work out?" I do. So do you want to start training some of your teammates? And it kind of worked out, and we had an okay weight room, and we ended up taking care of it, and they came in and did a nice job. And I said, this is something that I would like to stay into. At first I wanted to go into marketing and sales, and then as I started training more people, I got more and more interested in it and ended up minoring in kinesiology while I was there, taking exercise physiology, kinesiology, and it was a lot of fun. And said, well, I don't really know how one becomes a strength conditioning coach, but I know how they become a baseball coach. So I graduated from Hiwassee and took off to Bluefield College to be a baseball coach that was going to be able to do strength conditioning too. And while I was there, baseball is great. It's an awesome sport to work with. A lot of great people in that conference, in the Appalachian Conference. But I really enjoyed strength conditioning. And standing out on a baseball field one day with Mike White, we were talking about what the Blue Jays were doing. I was working on the grounds crew at the time, just making spare money. And we were talking about what they were doing in their warm-up. And he looks at me and he says, "You should go back to school." And at that point, I went, you know what, I think I will, and started looking into that and pursuing it a little further, and ended up going to Tennessee Tech to pursue a degree in exercise science. And spent 2 years there, roughly. And from there had internships at BGA, at Tennessee Tech, and then down to LSU. And from there it's been Lamar University and now here. And it's been a little bit of a wild ride going from baseball player who trained his teammates, baseball coach who trained his players, to a full-on strength conditioning coach. But nobody comes into this field really and goes, I want to be a strength conditioning coach. That may be shifting now, but a lot of people I talked to started off somewhere else and somehow found their way into it.
Being a coach, at one point a baseball coach and a player, how does that help your understanding of what you're preaching, so to speak, to these student athletes?
I think it just allows me a little inside perspective to that. I understand what the coaches want to do to an extent. Everybody has their own style of how they want their team and how they're going to play. And it also gives me an insight with some of the players, just because I understand what it's like to go 3 for 4 with a couple home runs, and also to go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. I understand both sides of that. So it gives me a little bit of a relationship there, and being able to talk some language with some different people. And then working with other sports and being around other sport coaches just through my strength conditioning career now, getting to pick up some of their lingo. And then my dad has also been a coach, so he was always a basketball coach, so that's another love of mine. And then before I found out that I was a better baseball player than football player, I always wanted to play. I wanted to be a college football player. So it's really fun getting to talk to the kids, and having been an athlete, being able to relate with them.
You mentioned your dad and the fact that he's a coach or has been a coach. So who, besides him, in this profession, maybe are some of your mentors?
Well, my very first internship was with Fred Eves at Battleground Academy. And Fred is a phenomenal strength coach and a better human being. And I get made fun of to this day because he and I will talk, and he would always ask me, "Does that make sense?" And he would tilt his head to the side and nod his head just like that. And I've started to do that now as I get older and older. Does that make sense? And it's just, he's been a great mentor to me. He taught me so much in a short amount of time. And then Kramer, who's with the Chicago Bears now, a former Garden City Community College football player, he's become more of a mentor ever since I left Tennessee Tech. He and I have talked more and more, and it's been great. And then, I mean, Tommy Moffitt, Lance Barlow, Travis Roy, Jake Riedel, Tim Johnson, Jeremy Jacobs, that entire staff down at LSU, Vic Valoria, he's still there now. They were all great to learn from. And then every place that I've been, including Lamar University with Coach Darcy and Coach Trudeau and everybody there and Coach Nichols, have taught me something that I've pulled and drawn from there. So there's people that I lean on very heavily for influences, but I've taken something from everybody that I've liked, or maybe it was something they did that I didn't like, and I go, I'm never going to do that.
So in your mind, what do you want these kids to get out of your program?
Well, I think the important thing for these kids is that they leave here and they still have some tread left on their tires. When they go off to their 4-year school to go carry on a legacy and to be the best that they can be, they're still functioning. There's no injuries. They can move really well. I think that's very important that they leave here with tread on the tires. I also think it's really important for them to learn how to train themselves, to learn what it's like to be in a weight room, because this gives them an opportunity to be successful for life. You may not be a baseball player your entire life. You may not be a football player your entire life, but the health benefits of being in top physical shape, of being strong, are really important. And those are some things that I think the kids can take away just from the physical side. I think also just having to face down a loaded barbell and you go, I have prepared for this. I know what to expect, but I still have a little bit of doubt, is a great analogy for life. When you get out of college and you go, I have prepared for this, I'm ready for it, and I can do it. I think those are great analogies just from the weight room into real life.
You might undersell this, which I'd probably expect you to do, but I've said it all along. Coaches have said this. The 2016 National Championship football team, a lot of the credit they give was to the strength coach at the time, who was Jason Zerbach. Whether you undersell it or not, in your estimation for any sport, how important is a strength and conditioning program?
I think strength and conditioning is very important to all the sports here and to anyone who's really trying to make an impact in athletics. So the first thing that we're always going to look at is injury rates. When you start resistance training, when you start strength training, and you're going to cut down on injuries. And that's what we want to see. We want kids to be available to play their sport. And then you start seeing that increased performance. When an 18-year-old walks through the door and you can make them a little bigger, a little faster, and a little stronger, and a little more explosive to where they jump higher, you've got a better athlete. And I think that's something that's really important within strength conditioning on that physical side. And then what we talked about earlier with the mental development of just being able to stare down something and know that you can do this, I think it creates it creates a tremendous benefit to all the kids that come through here. And I take a lot of pride in what I do, and I think it's awesome that here at Garden City Community College, I have this position. I think it's an awesome thing for us to have, and I think it's a great resource. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I'm saying that because the people at Garden City Community College and in the athletic department see the benefit in it.
Well, and in addition to that, because Garden City is the only junior college in this conference that has a full-time strength and conditioning coach, and you kind of just hit on this, what does that say as a whole about the college's dedication to that specific realm of athletics?
I think it says a lot about not just that specific realm, but about the entire department's view of athletics, and even the entire college. They find benefit to it. It gets kids who go to school here excited about being a part of it. It gets fans and people in the community excited about coming here. And it says, hey, we care about what we provide to people who may not be in athletics. We're here to provide you with a great product. And I think the people here are deeply committed to being at the very front of the pack in junior college and in a lot of other levels of athletics.
Well, appreciate you coming on, man.
It was fun.